on this island here in front of the library. 12 signs. How many left turn only signs do we need?
It is confusing there, though.
I mean, how many no parking signs do we need? And, you know, he counted them and said, he didn't know where they came from. They multiply overnight. So it got cleaned up, and it made such a difference to have that done. And that spawned the brick crosswalks and things like that. So we think it was an improvement. We don't think that this project would be an improvement. We've lost the beautiful trees, and the Historic Commission and the Historic District Commission have heard no end to that fiasco. So with the trees gone and the bare bones and the glorious lights very apparent now, which don't fit in with any schemes in the whole area, all right, they're necessary, but they're ugly too. You know, I mean, the poles and all don't mix and match very well. With all of that said, now we have a great view of the stands, and there'll be a great view for all the traffic going by to see these signs. Now we've got more visual pollution than you'd ever want right in the center of town. The selectmen have been trying for years to figure out how to get rid of the billboards on Route 28. Now we're going to put, in effect, billboards right in the center of town. I don't say that I disagree with the building inspector's interpretation of the sign bylaw. There's a loophole in there that does allow you to do that. It's true. I mean, it's right in the bylaw. I think it would be a mistake to grant it. But let me just say, this whole idea of advertising came up with the police department and the selectmen several years ago. And one of the selectmen brought that issue to the police department and wanting to put advertising on the cruisers in a discreet way, it was said. Well, the police officers were up in arms about it and said there was no way that they were going to cheapen the police department by advertising on the cruises. They said the next thing would be the fire department, and then who knows what after that. Well, it's turned around the other way. So the first thing is going to be the school department, and then we'll see what's next after that. I can't imagine that we would so cheapen our schools by allowing this to happen. I feel it's a bad message to the kids. They are bombarded now with advertising all day long. Can't they have some place that they can go where there is no advertising? What's going to come out of it? Is it going to be food-based things? Consumerism? I don't want to see the kids going to a game and seeing, you know, pizza at Joe's and get to Walmart to get your latest, you know, electronic gizmos. I can't see this. I think it would be a shame that they can't go and enjoy a game and get the rest of the world away from their lives. It would be a mistake. I would say that if this does come to pass, I would hope that you would demand that there would be some pretty dense shrubbery along that fence on 62 so that the traffic is not distracted from their driving going by.
Okay.
That's the one thing on the Planning Commission. Whenever there is anything that is distracting, that there is some kind of a barrier put up from whatever project is going in. So that would be a real good thing. If you need it for the game, fine. But let's not have it there as a constant advertising billboard in the center of our town.
Thanks, Pat.
That's all I have to say at the moment.
Thank you. We've got about 4 more minutes if anybody else wants to comment from the audience this time. If not, I'll allow Lauren, want to respond?
Thank you very much. I just want to speak to one point that Mrs. Romeo just made, and with all due respect to Mrs. Romeo, because I really do love you. I forget, I just lost my train of thought. I have it written down. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. With all due respect to Mrs. Romeo, speaking about the historic district, the field and the complex does not fall within the historic district. And also, Mrs. Romeo mentioned cheapening our schools. The field is no longer owned by the schools either. And I thank you. I just wanted to make that clear.
Rita?
If I could comment as a citizen, not recreation. I think beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and I don't think for 50 some odd years, other than the fact that we knew we couldn't use the field, we really never complained about what the field looked like. We just complained we couldn't use it. I think the moment the field was built and put in, I think you heard from everybody in town how gorgeous it was. I think once the signs go down there, I don't believe it's going to detract from that. I believe if anybody's worried about what they think they're going to see because kids in school are going to see it, the children that ride the bus on Route 28 see more about the McRibs, Dunkin' Donuts, the mocha coffees, and everything else, the pizzas, and everything else, that they'll see more advertising, and they're actually closer to that than what they're going to see there. So I think to say that the kids are going to be deterred by this, they're going to be harmed by that, I think is, and granted, I'm not a psychiatrist, but my kids seem pretty well balanced. But I think that the field is gorgeous, and I don't think the sign's going to take away from it. Watch any Red Sox, Patriots game, Celtics game, and when you watch it, do you really, at the end of the game, do you really say, wow, I couldn't stand that game because of the advertising? Or do you look at what a game Paul Pierce did, Brady or whatever? So
we should get home by 8:30 tonight to
I'm
check
leaving
that
right now.
out
Thank you.
to see if.
Thank you.
What happens if the signs tear or rip? Who's
Right,
responsible for that?
that's going to be that maintenance of the signs. Marty? So
You would handle that.
Parks and Rec would provide all maintenance.
Talk at that as subcommittee.
Okay, right now I'm going to entertain school committee comments and questions. I'll start down my left-hand side with.
Starting on the left-hander.
I'm starting on the left-hand side
First
with.
time in my life I've been a
Which is
left-
for us, politically is really the right, but we'll start at the left.
But
independent.
I also appreciate Mr. Bowers being here tonight. As you can see, he had an unfortunate accident a couple of weeks ago, so he's a trooper getting out here tonight and making his way down the steps to join us tonight. So Cliff,
We need
I'll
the
let
new
you.
building.
As I told the doctor today, the only way you can stop me from moving is to cut off both my arms and both my legs. And then if I could find a way to roll, I still would. I've been opposed to this activity since the very beginning. And my reasons for that are multiple. We went through those in the first go-around, and then we had a second go-around where we had Nancy McGuire, our counsel from Nutter, that went through in detail and sorted through the issues of the zoning bylaw. And in addition to that, she went through the school's memorandum of understanding with Parks and Rec for the application of advertising issues or the school policy with regard to advertising or signs on the field. And then in addition to that, she went through the issues of advertising policy of the school committee and the sponsorship policy of the school committee, all of which were applicable. The conclusion she reached was, as you went through it, that this is not permitted in several different directions. Most abruptly by the zoning bylaw, which is in fact the reflection of the interest of the entire community. It represents the entire community. It was passed by town meeting, and therefore is the law in Reading. The building inspector has a letter that has been given to Parks and Rec, which says that that he finds under section 200-79B, signs not requiring a permit, subsection 3, signs accessory to the use of premises by religious, nonprofit, or education institute or government authority, not to exceed 16 square feet in area. And if you look at this, we're looking at 35 signs at 525 square feet. Now you can say, well, each one is only 15, but the way that zoning bylaws are interpreted in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is that when you have a limit like that, it is the aggregate, not each individual one. So as a result, we're looking at somewhere between 525 and 720 versus 16. That wasn't brought out by Nancy McGuire, but that's a fact, as looking at Mr. DeCola, the building inspector's letter. I appreciate that, that there's a redo of this and you're continuing to work at it. But from that standpoint, the recommendation by Nancy McGuire is if you want to put signs there, that the first thing you need to do is fix the zoning bylaw so that the signs are permitted in that mode. And that should have been done last October if you wanted to get it done. So we've been through this a second time. I find that I'm in the same position. I find that the advertising that's on these signs, no matter what it is visible principally from children, students, on the track or on the field. It really is going to be hard to read from Route 62. It's not going to be able to be read from the stands. As one person commented, I can't understand why advertisers would want to advertise there, except of course they're getting to the kids. And that, I've been, another commenter here in the audience made the comment that numerous studies have shown that the kids are very receptive to advertising and that they're in a vulnerable position to accept it in the school environment. I actually sat through a webinar last Thursday on the very subject of advertising in schools, and it was very clear that it's something to be avoided. There's comments back by town council earlier that was very lenient in this process and went through ways to get around, basically, and to permit these signs, allow these signs. And it made some comment about our advertising policy, the school advertising policy being from 1987, so it's obviously well outdated. As it turns out, the policy subcommittee went over these things about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and what we looked at were the contemporary policies of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, the basic policy that they provide for draft, for use for various communities, and it's essentially the same as the one that we have that's dated 1987. It's contemporary. It's also about the same as the one that's in Linfield and in Andover, two neighboring communities. So basically what we have is contemporary advertising policy in the schools, which says basically you don't advertise in the schools. That's one of those things that we have as a policy in the schools, and that is connected through a memorandum of understanding to the field. I continue to be negative on this subject. I'll vote negative on it. I've had other people that have approached me in emails and otherwise that have indicated that they're unhappy with the sign. Most of them are on the basis of how's it going to look. They're not thinking about the aspects of the education, and that is in fact a serious issue. To the point that the kids see a lot of advertising